Let me ask you something simple. What's on your calendar this week? Not your to-do list, not what you hope to get done. I mean, what's actually scheduled. Because here's the truth. If it's not on the calendar, it's not real. You say health is important? Show me the time blocked for exercise. You say your family matters most? Then where's the dinner date or the quiet hour just for them? See, most people don't lack time. They lack clarity. And the calendar, that's where clarity lives. It's where dreams are given legs. It's where discipline gets a home. It's where you show, not say, what you're committed to. Now listen, don't let your future be powered by memory or mood. Power it with structure. Because the moment you put it on the calendar, you stop wishing and you start working. This video is going to show you exactly why scheduling isn't just a productivity tip. It's a philosophy, a way of living with intention, a way of building a life that reflects your values, not just your busyness. So stay with me, because what you're about to hear might just be the shift that turns your scattered days into a life of focused achievement. Time is the master asset. Manage it or be managed by it. Let me tell you something I learned early on in life, and it changed everything. Time is the master asset. Not money, not opportunity, not talent. Time. Because without time, nothing else matters. You can have a brilliant idea, but if you don't make time to work on it, it dies in your head. You can have passion, potential, even purpose, but if you don't give it time, scheduled time, it stays a fantasy. Now, here's the kicker. We all get the same amount. You don't get 26 hours, and I get 24. The billionaire, the beginner, the baker, and the bus driver, all equal. Time is the fairest resource on earth. But here's the tragedy. While time is given equally, it's not used equally. Some waste it, some spend it, and a very few, invest it. Now, I don't know what your goals are, but I do know this. If you don't respect time, it won't respect you. If you don't learn to manage your time, you'll be managed by everything else. Distractions, demands, other people's priorities. It's like this. Either you run your day, or your day runs you. Now let me give you a little wisdom I've picked up over the years. Time doesn't shout. It whispers. It won't knock your door down and demand your attention. No, it just slips by, quietly. A minute here, a half hour there, a scroll on your phone, a distraction in your mind. And before you know it, the day's gone, the week's gone, the year's gone, and nothing's changed. That's the danger of time. It disappears quietly. But if you learn to command it, to own it, it becomes your servant, a powerful servant. Because time, when directed, becomes your greatest multiplier. You give it to learning, it gives you knowledge. You give it to practice, it gives you skill. You give it to health, it gives you energy. You give it to someone you love, it gives you relationship. You give it to a vision, and it gives you a legacy. But if you give it to nothing, it gives you regret. Now here's a question for you. Do you know where your time is going? Not what you think you're doing, but what you're actually doing. Have you tracked it, measured it, guarded it like a treasure? Because let me tell you something. You can't improve what you don't measure. You can't master what you don't track. And you surely can't multiply what you never manage. Let me give you a simple practice. Each night before bed, ask yourself, what did I trade my time for today? And ask honestly, was it worth it? Did it move you forward or keep you busy? Was it your plan or someone else's emergency? Remember, the clock is always ticking, but it's not always working for you. You've got to assign your hours like a wise investor assigns dollars. Now someone says, Jim, I'm just so busy. And I say that's not the question. The question is, busy doing what? Because being busy is no badge of honor. Anyone can be busy. What matters is, are you being effective? Let me tell you about my mentor, Mr. Scharf. He said, don't spend major time on minor things. And that hit me like a lightning bolt, because that's what I was doing. I was giving golden hours to rusty tasks. I was spending diamond time on dust. So I made a change. I started prioritizing. I started scheduling what mattered. My reading time, my thinking time, my planning, my calls, my family time. And little by little, my life turned around. Because you see, life responds to structure. Life respects order. Life rewards the person who values time. Let me give you this final truth. Time is not just a clock. It's a mirror. It reflects what you really care about. You want to know your priorities? Don't check your heart. Check your calendar. If your schedule is full of trivial things, then you've traded treasure for trash. But if your schedule reflects your dreams, your goals, your values, then you're not just living by chance. You're living by choice. So here's my challenge to you. Don't manage your time casually. Manage it consciously, like a professional. Like someone who understands that time, not talent, determines destiny. Every minute has meaning. Every hour has a harvest. Every day is a vote for the future you want. So if it's important, schedule it. And if it's not scheduled, maybe it's not really important. Priorities are not what you say. They're what you block time for. Let me share a little insight with you. One that separates talkers from doers, dreamers from achievers, and the hopeful from the effective. Priorities are not what you say. They are what you schedule. They're not in your speeches. They're in your planner. It's easy to say something matters to you. Family, health, faith, growth, wealth, purpose. Those are all nice words. Big, meaningful words. But here's the test. Where are they in your week? Because if you say something's important, but it never makes it onto your calendar, then friend, I've got to ask, is it really a priority? You see, your schedule is the real autobiography of your life. Not your resume, not your Instagram feed. Your calendar, that's where the truth lives. What you block time for, that's what you actually believe in. I meet people all the time who say, Jim, my health is important. I say, great, when's your next workout? Oh, I haven't had time. Then it's not a priority. Someone says, I want to grow my business. I ask, how many hours are blocked this week for prospecting, strategy, study? Oh well, I'm just trying to squeeze it in. Then you're not building a business. You're wishing for one. Let me put it plainly. If it's not on your calendar, it's not in your life. Now here's something I've learned over the years. The most important things in life rarely scream for attention. They whisper. Health whispers. Time with your spouse whispers. Journaling, reading, prayer, planning, they all whisper. But you know what screams? Emails, notifications, meetings, emergencies. And if you don't defend your calendar with intentionality, those screaming, noisy, urgent things will shove the important things right off the page. That's why I always say, don't prioritize your schedule. Schedule your priorities. You want to grow? Block time for learning. You want better relationships? Block time for connection. You want to build wealth? Block time for creating, solving, producing. Don't leave it to luck or chance or leftover time. Schedule it like it matters, because it does. Now someone says, but Jim, I'm so busy. Let me tell you something. Busy people often live shallow lives. They're full, but not fulfilled. They're in motion, but not in progress, because they're reacting, not choosing. Don't just be busy, be deliberate. Being full doesn't mean you're being effective. What you block time for reveals what you believe about your life. You can say your kids matter, but do they have your focused attention? You can say your dream matters, but does it get your best energy, or just your leftover scraps? Let me challenge you with something I do often. Take a blank weekly calendar. 7 days, 24 hours a day. Now fill in the non-negotiables. Sleep, work hours, meals. Then ask yourself, where's your growth? Where's your peace? Where's your mission? Where's your margin? Your time to think. Because if your schedule has no room for who you want to become, then you'll keep becoming what your distractions decide. Now remember this, and don't forget it. You can't build a meaningful life on leftover time. You must give the best of your day to what matters most. Not the scraps. Not the if I get around to it. The best. The first. The intentional. So here's your assignment this week. Look at your schedule and audit it. Look for lies. Look for gaps. Where are you saying one thing, but living another? Then fix it. Rearrange it. Block time for what actually matters. Because you don't become disciplined by willpower alone. You become disciplined by structure. And structure comes from scheduling. So stop just telling yourself what matters. Start showing yourself. Because in the end, your schedule is not just a list of tasks. It's a statement of identity. And the question is, are you becoming the person your calendar says you are? If not, change the calendar. Start today. Because if it's important, schedule it. The foundation of discipline is a planner and a pen. Let me tell you something I discovered a long time ago. Discipline doesn't start in the gym. It doesn't start in the office. It doesn't even start with motivation. No, discipline starts at the desk, with a planner and a pen. Now that might sound too simple for some people. They say, Jim, I need motivation. I need momentum. No, what you need is a quiet moment, a blank page and a decision. Because that's where discipline is born. Not in emotion, but in structure. The pen is the beginning of accountability. You take that pen in your hand and you're saying, I'm no longer going to live by accident. I'm going to live by design. I'm no longer going to rely on memory. I'm going to use method. That's what the planner represents. It's not a notebook. It's a contract. A contract with your future self. You write it down, and now you're on the hook. It's no longer just a good idea. It's a scheduled intention. Now here's what I've noticed. People with vague plans have vague results. They say, I'll try to get around to it. I'll do it when I have time. That's a fantasy. There's no such thing as when I have time. Time doesn't show up. You have to make it. And that starts with writing it down. Let me give you a simple rule. Never start your day until it's finished. On paper. Don't trust your mind to hold it all. The mind is for thinking, not for storing. Write it down. What you're doing when you're doing it. How long it will take. Because what you write, you begin to own. And what you own, you begin to respect. Now I'm not talking about scribbling out a random list. I'm talking about planning like a professional. Block your time. Assign your energy. Anticipate obstacles. That's the kind of planning that builds discipline. You don't try to remember, you train your actions. Some people say, well, Jim, I'm just not a planner. Let me tell you, that's not a personality trait. That's an excuse. Everyone can become a planner. Because everyone can take 10 minutes and write things down. Now let me tell you why this works. Writing engages your commitment. The act of writing builds focus. And when you focus, you begin to lead yourself. And when you lead yourself, you don't need to be pushed, pulled, or prodded. You wake up and follow your own instructions. That's real power. You don't need a new app. You don't need fancy software. You need a pen, a planner, and a promise. Because when you write it down, you do more than plan. You declare. You say, this is my life. This is my day. This is where my time will go. That's the voice of discipline. Now listen closely. Discipline is not about being perfect. It's about being prepared. It's not about being rigid. It's about being clear. Because clarity creates confidence. And confidence produces consistency. And consistency builds momentum. And momentum. That's where breakthroughs live. But it all starts with that first act of self-leadership. Sit down, open your planner, pick up the pen, and begin. You do that enough days in a row, and you won't just become more productive, you'll become more powerful. Because you're not living by chance. You're living by choice. And choice is the root of freedom. So my friend, here's your next step. Get yourself a planner you'll use. Doesn't matter if it's digital or paper, just use it. Every day, every night, every week. Make planning part of your life like brushing your teeth. Non-negotiable. Daily, simple, powerful. Because the most successful people in the world don't have more discipline. They just have better systems. And the first system is always the calendar. So remember this, you don't need to be perfect. You just need a pen and a decision to lead your day before the day leads you. Because if it's important, it starts with the planner. If it's not on paper, it's probably just a wish. Let me tell you something that separates the successful from the stressed, the disciplined from the distracted, the fulfilled from the frustrated. They write things down. Simple, isn't it? But profound. They don't just think about their goals, they capture them. They don't just talk about their plans, they record them because they understand this basic principle. If it's not on paper, it's probably just a wish. Now let's pause there, because I know what some people are thinking. Jim, I've got it all in my head. Let me say this kindly, that's not good enough. The human mind is powerful, yes, but it's also forgetful. It's reactive. It gets pulled, pushed, and distracted by 1,000 things a day. Your brain was designed to generate ideas, not to store them. You need a second brain. And that second brain is a piece of paper, a notebook, a planner, a whiteboard, whatever works for you, but you've got to write it down. Now why is that so important? Because writing makes it real. Writing gives an idea structure. Writing says, this matters. This is no longer a passing thought. It's a target. Let me put it this way. Unwritten goals are invisible goals, and invisible goals get invisible results. You see, most people have dreams, big ones, but dreams without paper stay trapped in imagination. They float around in the mind, competing with bills, text messages, errands, and noise. And eventually, they fade. Not because they weren't good ideas, but because they were never anchored. Now here's what I discovered. When you write something down, it becomes a promise, a commitment, a target for your time, your energy, your attention. You go from maybe someday to this day, at this time for this purpose. That's how progress starts. That's how goals get built brick by brick. One scheduled block of time at a time. You want to lose weight? Don't just think it. Write down your plan. You want to grow your income? Don't just wish. Write down your strategy. You want better relationships? Schedule time. Capture ideas. Make a list. Put it on paper. Because what gets written gets focused. And what gets focused gets finished. Now listen. The paper doesn't guarantee success, but it prepares you for it. It helps you track it. It keeps you honest when motivation fades and distraction shows up. Let me share something personal. In the early days of my journey, I didn't write things down. I had big ideas, big hopes, but my results were small. Why? Because everything was floating. No structure, no schedule, no accountability. It wasn't until I picked up the habit of writing daily that things began to shift. I saw patterns. I saw gaps. I saw progress. All because of one decision. Put it on paper. Now don't overthink it. It doesn't have to be fancy. You don't need color-coded charts or perfect handwriting. You just need a system that gets your thoughts out of your head and into the real world. Because remember this, the paper is where your future begins. It's where you turn vision into a plan. It's where you start to lead your life instead of react to it. And let me give you this, a pen and paper, don't forget, they don't change based on emotion. They don't shift with your mood. They hold you accountable, gently, but firmly. So here's your challenge. Whatever matters to you, write it down. Goals, ideas, appointments, values, lessons. Track your progress. Track your promises. Treat the paper like a mirror of your future. Because in the end, it's not what you think about that changes your life. It's what you plan. It's what you schedule. It's what you do. And the first step, get it out of your head and onto the page. Because if it's important, if it really matters to you, then it belongs in writing. Because if it's not on paper, it's probably just a wish. Consistency is born from repetition, and repetition requires structure. Let me tell you something that transformed my life and the lives of so many I've coached. Success isn't built in one day, it's built in daily actions, not in a burst of inspiration, not in a once-a-year resolution, but in what you do again and again and again. That's the magic word, consistency. Now everybody wants results. They want progress. They want breakthrough. But very few are willing to repeat the same small disciplines every single day. And that's the gap. Consistency is the bridge between desire and achievement. But here's the key. Repetition doesn't happen without structure. Let me say that again. If you don't build a structure, you won't build consistency. You see, most people wake up and hope for motivation. They wait for the right mood. They wait for life to feel right. And that's a mistake. Motivation is a spark. Structure is the furnace. Motivation fades. Structure remains. You don't brush your teeth because you're inspired. You brush them because it's part of your structure. And that's the mindset you need to apply to your business, your health, your learning, your relationships. Put it in a system, put it on the schedule, put it in writing, and then repeat it. Let me give you a simple formula that works every time. Structure, repetition, consistent momentum results. No structure, no repetition, no repetition, no consistency. And without consistency, my friend, success stays out of reach. Now let me ask you, what do you want to be consistent at? Because it doesn't just happen by accident. You don't become consistent at reading unless it's on the schedule. You don't become consistent at exercise unless it's in the calendar. You don't become consistent at building a business unless there's time blocked for it daily. You've got to create the environment that supports the behavior. That's the role of structure. It's not about rigidity. It's about support. Structure is like scaffolding on a building. It holds the shape while you build the strength. Eventually the strength takes over. But in the beginning, you need support. You need repetition. Now here's the best part. Repetition compounds. You do a thing once, not much changes. You do it 10 times, it starts to take root. You do it 100 times, it becomes a rhythm. And when something becomes rhythm, it becomes part of you. People say, Jim, how do I become more confident? Repeat, show up again and again. Build the muscle through practice, because confidence is the reward of repetition. People say, Jim, how do I become more focused? Create structure, remove distractions, schedule deep work, and do it every single day until it becomes who you are. Listen, the difference between amateurs and professionals isn't talent, it's consistency. And consistency lives inside repetition, and repetition lives inside structure. Let me say it this way. If you want automatic results, you need automatic habits. And automatic habits only come from intentional systems. So what's the takeaway here? If there's something you want to improve, your health, your wealth, your wisdom, your walk with purpose, don't leave it to chance. Give it a time slot. Give it a method. Give it a home in your routine. That's how success is built. Not in fits and starts, but in steady, reliable, repeated effort. Here's your challenge this week. Pick one area of your life you want to strengthen. Create a 15-minute block in your calendar. Same time every day, same focus, same effort, same commitment, and do it for 30 days. You'll be amazed at how repetition changes your identity. Because when you do something long enough, often enough, you stop trying to become that person and start being that person. That's the power of structure. That's the power of repetition. That's how consistency is born. And consistency, that's how success stays. So remember, if it matters, schedule it, repeat it, protect it with structure, and build the life you were meant to live, one repeatable action at a time. You miss opportunities you don't prepare for. Let me give you one of life's greatest truths. And it's a hard one. You don't get what you want. You get what you're ready for. You see, life doesn't deliver opportunity based on your wishes. It delivers based on your preparation. And that's the difference between the successful and the struggling. The successful don't wait for opportunity. They prepare for it. And when it shows up, they're ready. You miss the opportunity you're not prepared to receive. And that, my friend, is one of the most expensive lessons you can learn in life. Now here's what I've found. Most people think opportunity is rare. It's not. Opportunity is everywhere. Every day, every week, knocking, whispering, passing by. But most people are too distracted, too disorganized, or too unprepared to notice it. And even when they do notice it, they're not ready to say yes. Why? Because they never planned for it. They never made space for it. They never scheduled the work that would have made them capable of stepping into it. Let me ask you, if the opportunity you've been hoping for showed up tomorrow, would you be ready? If someone called you today and said, "We want a partner, we want to invest, we want to promote you, we want to give you the platform," would you say, "Yes, I've been preparing"? Or would you say, "Give me a few months to get my act together"? Because here's the truth. You don't rise to the occasion, you fall to the level of your preparation. Now you don't prepare by accident. You prepare with intention. You prepare by creating space in your schedule. You prepare by showing up every day and working on yourself, your skills, your habits, your knowledge, your confidence. See, too many people say, "When the opportunity comes, I'll get ready." That's backward. You get ready so the opportunity has a reason to come. Let me say that again. You don't wait for the door to open. You become the person who deserves the key. And you do that through consistent, quiet, focused preparation. Now here's something else. Preparation builds confidence, and confidence is attractive to opportunity. When you prepare, you walk differently. You speak differently. You don't beg. You don't panic. You stand ready. And let me tell you, life has a strange way of rewarding the ready. You do the work behind the scenes, and life opens a door when you least expect it. But if you're not ready, you hesitate. You doubt, you say no to something you prayed for, because you didn't build the capacity to carry it. Don't let that happen to you. Let me give you an example from my early days. When I started speaking, I wasn't very good. I didn't have a polished delivery, didn't have a fancy resume, but I did have something powerful. Preparation. I showed up with notes. I studied hard. I worked on my craft. I rehearsed when no one was watching. And then one day someone said, "Jim, would you be willing to share a few ideas at our event?" I said, "Absolutely." And I was ready. Not because I had talent, but because I had prepared. That opened the next door, and the next, and the next. And it will for you too. Because preparation creates momentum, and momentum attracts opportunities. So here's my challenge to you. Start preparing before you need it. Schedule the study. Block the practice. Show up when no one's clapping yet. Write the email. Build the plan. Refine the pitch. Polish the presentation. Prepare in faith that the opportunity will come, because it will. But it won't wait for you to get ready. It will reward the one who already is. So remember this, opportunity doesn't knock for the unprepared. It walks right past their door. But for the prepared, it lingers. It stays. It says, "Here I am. Let's go." So if you're serious about success, don't just dream about the door. Build the key. Because in this life, you don't miss opportunity, because it never came. You miss it because you weren't ready when it did. So prepare. Today, quietly, consistently, with structure, with purpose. Because when opportunity arrives, you won't have time to get ready. You'll only have time to respond. Plan your life, or react to everyone else's plan. Let me give you one of the simplest and most powerful principles I ever learned. If you don't plan your own life, chances are you'll end up in someone else's. And you know what they've got planned for you? Not much. Now think about that for a second. Every day someone has a plan for your time. Your phone does. Your boss does. Your inbox does. Even strangers do. And if you're not careful, you'll spend your whole day, your whole week, your whole life reacting to other people's agendas instead of building your own. Let me ask you, who's running your calendar? Who's deciding how your hours are spent? Who's choosing what gets your best energy? Because if you don't answer that question deliberately, life will answer it for you by default. And that's a dangerous place to live. In default mode. You see, most people are not living their lives. They're reacting to them. They wake up and immediately respond to emails, to text messages, to distractions, to other people's problems. And by the end of the day, they wonder why they feel so tired and yet so unaccomplished. It's because they were busy, but not in control. They were active, but not intentional. Here's what I want you to understand. Every minute you don't plan is available for someone else to claim, and they will. They'll fill your time. They'll consume your energy. They'll use your talent and leave you wondering where the day went. That's why I tell people, you have to become the architect of your life. Design it or drift in it. Shape it or survive it. Plan it or pay for the lack of planning later. Let me give you a visual. Picture a builder standing on an empty plot of land. Now ask yourself, does he just grab a hammer and start pounding nails into random boards? Of course not. First, he gets a blueprint. Why? Because building without a plan is expensive. It's chaotic. It wastes time, material, and energy. Same is true with your life. If you're building a life, and you are, then you better have a blueprint. And that blueprint starts with your planner, your calendar, your goals, your vision, your schedule. Now someone says, Jim, what if I don't know what I want yet? Then start with what you don't want. Plan to avoid chaos. Plan to protect your peace. Plan to grow a little every day until the bigger picture becomes clear. But don't drift, because drifting is dangerous and it's so easy to do. You don't have to try to drift. Just stop planning and it'll happen all by itself. Let me tell you something. I tell all my students, a planned life is a powerful life. A scheduled life is a stable life. When you plan, you lead. When you don't, you follow by default. So here's what you do. Every week, set time aside to plan. Block it on your calendar. Sunday night, Monday morning, doesn't matter, but make it sacred. Sit down with a pen, a planner, and a purpose. Ask yourself, what do I want this week to move toward? What matters most right now? And then block time for it. Because when your week is filled with your priorities, there's less space for other people's chaos. Now, will life still throw things at you? Of course. But when you're grounded in a plan, you don't get tossed around. You adjust. You don't collapse. You bend, but you don't break. Let me give you one last truth. People respect people who have a plan. You become more confident, more focused, more reliable, and you waste less of everyone's time, including your own. So here's the bottom line. You can't control everything, but you can control your calendar. You can't predict every storm, but you can build your boat. And the boat is your schedule. The anchor is your plan. And the wind is opportunity. But it's only useful to those who are steering. So if you want to stop feeling pulled, overwhelmed, and lost, pick up the wheel, grab your planner. Start planning your life before someone else plans it for you. Because a man or woman without a plan is a resource for someone with one. And if it's important, you don't just hope it fits. You schedule it first. Your calendar should speak for you. Let me ask you a question that might catch you off guard. If I looked at your calendar right now, what would it say about your life? Because your calendar, my friend, is not just a tool for scheduling. It's a window into your values. It's a mirror of your habits. It's the silent speaker of your priorities. Your calendar should speak for you, loud and clear. It should say, here's what I care about. Here's what I'm building. Here's the life I'm becoming. You see, anyone can talk about goals. Anyone can talk about priorities. But when you open that calendar, the truth comes out. You either see structure or you see scattered. You either see purpose or you see noise. And let me tell you, the world notices. When your calendar is aligned with your vision, people can feel it. They sense your clarity. They respect your focus. You walk with a different kind of confidence. The kind that comes from knowing where your time is going. Let me give you a principle worth writing down. A powerful life is a planned life. And a planned life leaves evidence on the calendar. Now someone says, but Jim, my intentions are good. Well, that's a start. But intention without a plan is like having a car without a steering wheel. You might be full of fuel, but you'll still end up lost. You've got to translate that intention into action. You've got to block time for what matters. Reading time, thinking time, relationship time, exercise, planning, skill building, creative work. If it's important, it shouldn't be invisible. Let your schedule shout it out. This is a person who's serious. This is a person with direction. This is someone not living by accident. Now I want to be clear. I'm not saying your calendar has to be packed from sun up to sundown. No, busyness is not the goal. Intentionality is. There's a difference between a busy calendar and a bold calendar. A busy calendar is full of reaction. A bold calendar is full of prioritized creation. It's where the important gets protected. It's where the valuable gets repeated. Let me tell you, when I started showing people my calendar, something shifted. People started taking me more seriously because they saw what I was committed to. Not in theory, but in practice. And that's the secret. Your schedule is proof of your seriousness. So here's a challenge. Open up your planner and imagine someone else looking at it. Would they see a life that's on track? Would they say, wow, this person is building something that matters? Or would they say, this person is just trying to survive the week? Now, if you don't like the answer, don't panic. You can change it. Start today. Start small. Add one block of time that says, this is who I want to become, and do it again tomorrow. And the next day, that's how transformation begins. Because ultimately, your calendar should speak louder than your words. It should echo your purpose. It should represent your discipline. It should reflect your priorities, without you having to say a thing. So the next time someone asks, what do you stand for? What are you working on? What are you building? You don't have to go on and on explaining. Just say, take a look at my calendar. Because if it's scheduled, it's real. And if it's not on there, maybe it never really mattered to begin with. So here's the final word. Speak less about what you're going to do, and let your calendar do the talking. Mornings matter. Start scheduled, or start scrambling. Let me tell you something I've said for years, and it's still true. The way you start your morning sets the tone for your entire day. Now you can start with clarity, or you can start with chaos. You can start scheduled, or you can start scrambling. But you can't have both. Mornings are the front door to your life. If that door is messy, rushed, and disorganized, don't be surprised when the rest of the house is out of order too. Now here's the mistake most people make. They let the day happen to them. They don't begin with design. They begin with distraction. Alarm goes off. They grab the phone. They scroll, react, check notifications, and boom, before they've had a moment to think, they've already surrendered their attention. And you can't build a meaningful life when your first move is to give your time away. So here's the new rule. You've got to win the morning, or the morning will win you. You've got to start with purpose, with stillness, with a plan, with a decision that says this day belongs to me, and here's how I'm going to use it. Now let me tell you, I'm not talking about a 5-hour morning ritual with cold showers and Himalayan tea. I'm talking about clarity. Even 15 minutes of structured intention can change your entire day. And here's why. Mornings are momentum builders. When you start right, you think better, you move faster, you handle problems with a cooler head, you carry confidence because you started with control. You want to change your life? Don't start with the year. Start with the first hour of your day. Let me give you a simple suggestion. Something I do myself. Wake up a little earlier, before the noise, before the demands, and give yourself the gift of a scheduled start. What should you schedule? Well, that depends on your goals. But here's a good formula. Quiet, fuel, plan, action. Start with quiet. Some reflection, some reading, maybe prayer. Then fuel, hydrate, nourish, energize the body. Then plan. Open that calendar. Review the top priorities. Clarify the mission. And then take one small action that aligns with who you want to become. Don't wait for motivation. Create momentum. And you do that with structure. Now someone says, Jim, I'm just not a morning person. That's fine. But let me ask you this. Are you a purpose person? Because if you are, you won't leave your mornings to chance. You don't have to be up at 4 a.m., but you do need to own the first part of your day, not drift into it. Design it. Because here's what happens when you start scrambling. You forget things. You feel behind. You spend the whole day in reaction mode, trying to catch up to a clock that never stops ticking. And by the end of the day, you're worn out. But you haven't moved forward. You were busy, but not effective. So let's flip that script. Let your morning become sacred. Guard it. Protect it. Treat it like the launch pad to your best self. Because that's what it is. The morning is where your power lives. If you'll claim it, and remember, you don't rise to the level of your goals. You fall to the level of your systems. And your morning routine. That's your system for success. So tomorrow, don't just wake up. Rise up. Show up. Take charge. And start with intention. Because if you start scheduled, you carry order, energy, and purpose into everything you do. But if you start scrambling, you chase the day, instead of leading it. So here's the final word. The morning is a gift. Open it with discipline. Open it with design. Because how you begin shapes everything that follows. Sunday night, the most important meeting of the week. Let me tell you about a meeting that changed my life. It wasn't with a mentor. It wasn't with a boss. It wasn't even with a team. It was a meeting with myself. And it happened. Every Sunday night. I call it the most important meeting of the week. Because it's the meeting where you do something most people never do. You stop, you reflect, you plan, and you prepare to lead your life on purpose. Now let me ask you, do you have that meeting scheduled? Because if not, chances are you're entering your week like most people do, reactive, overwhelmed, and unprepared. And let me tell you, a reactive life is a chaotic life. But a Sunday night meeting, that's a secret weapon. It's the difference between living by default and living by design. You see, most people spend more time planning their vacation than they do planning their week. And that's why they're always scrambling, chasing their to-do list instead of directing it. Let me give you a simple truth. The week is won or lost before it begins. And Sunday night is when the battle is either planned or ignored. Now what do you do in this meeting? You sit down, just you and your planner. No distractions. No TV. No scrolling. You take a deep breath and ask what matters this week. What's already on the schedule? What's missing? What needs to be protected? This is where you clarify the chaos. This is where you stop spinning and start steering. You open your calendar and make decisions. Not vague intentions. Real choices. You block time for what matters. Growth, health, strategy, family, rest. You set your priorities in stone before the world tries to steal them on Monday morning. Because make no mistake, if your week isn't scheduled by Sunday night, it'll be filled by Monday morning with everyone else's agenda. You'll be pulled in 10 directions. You'll feel like you're chasing time instead of owning it. And by Friday, you'll be wondering where the days went. That's not how high achievers live. That's not how builders of legacy operate. They sit down, they review, they reflect, they prepare. That's what Sunday night is for. Let me give you a few questions to bring to that meeting. What are my top 3 priorities this week? What's already scheduled and what needs to be? What will I say yes to and what will I say no to? How will I protect time for thinking, growing, creating, and resting? And most importantly, what kind of person do I want to become this week? And how will my schedule reflect that? Because remember, you're not just planning tasks, you're planning identity. You're not just filling days, you're forming your future. Now someone says, Jim, I just don't have time for that. Friend, if you don't have time to plan the week, you definitely won't have time to win the week. 15 minutes, that's all it takes. 15 minutes of clarity will save you hours of confusion. It will save you stress, overwhelm, decision fatigue, and regret. Because let's be honest, when the week falls apart, you usually knew it would. You saw the warning signs, but you didn't prepare. So don't let that be your story anymore. Make Sunday night sacred. Light a candle. Make some tea. Sit down in the quiet and take back control. Not just of your calendar, but of your calling. Because you're not here to just survive the week. You're here to shape it, to direct it, to fill it with intention. So make Sunday night your meeting with destiny. Every week, because that meeting, that's where leaders are made. That's where progress begins. That's where clarity finds its voice and purpose finds its place. So from now on, before you start the week, sit down, make a plan, lead your life before someone else does. Because Sunday night isn't just the end of the weekend, it's the launch pad for the life you're building. Plan with vision, live with intention. Well, here we are. We've walked through the ideas. We've looked at time. We've talked about priorities. We've explored the calendar, the planner, the structure, the repetition, and the discipline. But let me leave you with one final thought. All of it means nothing without vision. You've got to know what you're building. You've got to see where you're going. You've got to decide in advance who you want to become. Because planning without vision is just activity. It's motion without meaning. But planning with vision, that's when you start living a life of intention. You see, when you live with vision, your days begin to organize themselves around something deeper. Your calendar becomes a map. Your schedule becomes a compass. And every block of time becomes a brick in the foundation of something you actually care about. Let me say it plainly. You don't just want to be busy. You want to be becoming the person who shows up, becoming the person who follows through, becoming the leader of your time, your talent, and your energy. And here's how it works. Vision sets the destination. Planning sets the direction. Intention brings the power. That's the formula. You write the vision, you plan the path, and then you live with purpose. Every morning, you rise with clarity. Every week, you move with structure. And every year, you look back, not with regret, but with gratitude. Because you didn't let life happen to you, you designed it. Now remember, vision doesn't require perfection, and planning doesn't guarantee ease. But they do give you a fighting chance, a way to resist the noise, the chaos, the distraction. Because this world will always try to pull you in 100 directions. But when you live with vision, you only need one. So as we close this journey, let me offer you a challenge. Don't leave your future to chance. Don't hope it works out. Plan it out. Don't react to life. Lead it. Put your vision on paper. Put your purpose in your planner. And build a week, a month, a year that actually reflects the life you were meant to live. Be bold. Be clear. Be intentional. Because the difference between the ordinary and the extraordinary isn't talent, isn't luck. It's planning. So plan with vision. Live with intention. And become the kind of person who doesn't just manage time, but multiplies it into something meaningful. And when they ask how you did it, you'll smile and say, I scheduled it,